This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Prepare yourself for some off-the-cuff book talk as I tackle another middle grade book chapter by chapter. This is MJ bringing you my chapter by chapter review of Secret Garden Chapter 3, Across the Moor. And this is a transitional chapter where, guess it or believe it or not, Mary Lennox goes across the moor with Mrs. Medlock, who's, I believe she's the chief maid or chief, housekeeper of Uncle Archibald Craven's house. And she has an interesting way about her. And based on like the conflict that she and Mary had with each other in the last chapter, a little bit of conflict, not a ton, she is regarding her with, not a ton of favor. She's not being horrible to her, but she kind of is, I don't know, not interested in catering to the child's, taciturn nature, or I'm not exactly sure how to say that, but basically she kind of, Mary at one point asks her, what is a war? Is it a notion? Is it this? Is it that? And she says, you're going to find out on your own. And she isn't unkind in saying that. She's just being matter of fact, like, look, kid, you're going to figure this out on your own. Don't worry. And then she goes on ahead and explains to her after they've experienced it, once they've gotten to it after this long stretch of miles of riding in a carriage, a smart carriage, that, this is what it is. And then Mary gets to see the big house, and it's nighttime when she's arriving. And as she gets there, she gets more and more uncomfortable with it and likes it less and less. And we hear that it's kind of a desolate area. It's just a lot of heather and grouse and, some other game bird of some sort. And there's not really much else going on there on the land. And Mary isn't particularly interested in it. And then when she reaches the servants, she's saying to herself, I don't like it, I don't like it. And then when she actually reaches the home and is let inside, she's, again, not catered to or anything. I mean, she kind of is. There's an interesting contrast, or an interesting idea that's brought forth, that she expects everybody to go ahead and wait on her because that's what everybody did in India. And she doesn't know to expect anything different. So Medlock had earlier taken her stuff for her and put it in the carriage, and she let her do it. She didn't offer to help or anything like that. And then we have actual servants at the manor house that do take her belongings for her and put them up, as they should. That's their job. That's their function. And she has no issue with that. But nobody makes a fuss over her. She overhears that her uncle doesn't want to see her and wants her to be kept away from him, basically. So it sounds like, to the audience, Mary's going into another situation with another aloof relative who wants nothing to do with her. And that doesn't sound very nice. And that has to be hurtful to a child, I would think. And that's basically the situation that she's going into. And it's pretty sad to think that that's what's going on, but you can't really, stop that from being the reality. So that's just what she's going to have to deal with. And it's funny, the author put in the last chapter that she was called Mary, Mary Quite Contrary. And it says that, and when she got to the house, she was about as contrary as she could possibly be. So she is not going to be a happy camper. And we're going to have to see how she gets over that, because I'm vaguely familiar with the story. I know that changes. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds and how that changes for her, because right now she's not happy, and she's kind of in a place where she doesn't have a good understanding of what is expected of her and what she can expect from these people around her. And it'll be interesting to see how that blossoms and blooms, and how things progress as we go through the rest of the book. So I'm still enjoying this. It's interesting. It's not, this wasn't like a super compelling chapter, but it was interesting to hear the description of like how spooky and how forlorn the road to the manor house was, and then just being there in the night, and there's no welcome, there's no warmth. It's I don't know, it's interesting because it is putting Mary in this place where she's alienated. She's not surrounded by a bunch of kids. I found out, by the way, that it's let me see, I put it in my notes. It was Mrs. Crawford had taken care of her, and she had the kids, the 5 kids. One of them was named Basil. He was the one that made up Mary, Mary Quite Contrary, or one of the kids of that family, and he made fun of her for not knowing where her home was or where her uncle lived and all that stuff, which it's in England. Oh yeah, I noticed too the train conductor, I think, and Medlock have not a Cockney accent, a Hertfordshire, hold on, a Yorkshire accent. That's what it is. They have Yorkshire accent, so I guess that's the area they're in. So that's kind of an interesting detail if you know England, or if you know these kinds of books that are set in these places like Pride and Prejudice and such, you're more familiar with that. And yeah, it's just kind of texturing the setting. So we have a good picture of the setting and of how much how much unhappier, how much more unhappy Mary is in the setting. And again, we'll have to see what happens. So I'm interested. I'm genuinely engaged, and I want to know what exactly happens to this girl and how she gets transformed and how the place gets transformed around her as well. So let me know what you thought about this chapter. I hope you enjoyed that. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. I invite you to comment, ask questions, and share your thoughts with me. It's always more fun when you're part of the conversation. Until next time, keep reading, be well, and do good things. Visit mjmunoz.com for more of my work and help me build up the Fortress Fiction.